to admit, as we've indicated, that its outcome is opaque to an almost unprecedented degree. Talk of a hung parliament is a symptom of that. The unpredictability of the result is a consequence of the unprecedented circumstances in which it's taking place and the way in which we, the voters, have changed too. We're going to talk about that shortly with the author Jeanette Winterson, the influential policy wonk Philip Blond and the historian Andrew Roberts. First, though, Paul Mason has been thinking about some of the ways in which the electorate has altered.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our press conference.
To the leadership
Glad to have joining me Greg Clark, our Shadow Climate Change Secretary, Dominic
Congress.
Grieve, Shadow Justice Secretary.
It used to be that politicians created the cacophony and we just listened. But now the conversation's changed direction. The two-party system's looking frail, spin doctors are looking sick, and tabloid editors gutted. So what's driving it? Well, think social change, cynicism, plus gadgets. Most politicians have one of these, a BlackBerry, and what they use it for is command and control. But a lot of us now have one of these, an iPhone or similar, and this puts you in the world of social networks. And what that means is you're part of a conversation that nobody can command or control, and the politicians knew that world existed. What they didn't know is what it would do. It all began during the first leaders' debate. On the social media site Twitter, people began to signal they hated all the anecdotes.
I was in Plymouth recently, and a 40-year-old black man actually made the point to me. He said, I came here when I was 6.
Within 24 hours, somebody had come up with this, the random David Cameron anecdote generator. And by the time of the next debate, anecdotes were out. Then there was Nick Clegg's Fault, an online guerrilla war to ridicule Fleet Street's attacks on Clegg. Soon, Fleet Street backed off.
I think the big difference is that what we're seeing is the end of command and control politics. So politicians tend to use devices such as the BlackBerry as just another thing that you can use to control communications. That isn't how people use their own devices. They use it to get new ideas, to communicate in different ways, to talk to people about their interests. And it isn't something that's controllable. And I think there's a big disconnect.
In Spitalfields, London's .com district, you're slap bang in the middle of iPhone world. Here, people change their business models at the drop of an achingly fashionable hat, and the political disconnect is obvious.
I think politics is still portraying a message that for people who live in the internet world and who use social media and can instantly see the way their opinions are shifting throughout the course of a day, and you realise how far apart from the political views they are. And the politicians, it's like listening to somebody who's really living in a different reality.
It's not just about technology. We've had the collapse of trust in the banking system, and then, with the expenses scandal, the collapse of trust in politics. What the social media does is amplify cynicism and speed it up. And it does more.
I think what social media does to it all, it just fast forwards everything. So if you look at 1968, the political elites in 1968 had to respond to so many new social trends, whether it was the civil rights movement, the sexual liberation movement, the anti-war process about Vietnam. That took years to actually come to a head. What we're now seeing is those same types of impulses are being brought to a fore within 8 to 10 weeks, not 8 to 10 years.
If this phenomenon of people using the social media to seize control of the conversation were only happening in a trendy place like Shoreditch in East London, that would be one thing. But as everybody in business knows, in the last 18 months it's become universal, and the politicians seem to have missed it, or at the very best, just got half the story. They deployed their spin doctors onto Twitter in serried ranks, and the journalists piled in as well. But in cyberspace, the spin, the pressure and the party machine count for nothing. It gives a whole new meaning to "we are the masters now."
Well, we're joined now by the Conservative thinker Philip Blond. Philip lives in Spitalfields, so presumably has both an iPhone and a BlackBerry, but I hope he's turned both of them off. From more traditional media are the novelist Jeanette Winterson and the historian Andrew Roberts.